Welcome everybody to another edition of WCW 2004 here in DW 2020 as it's time for the go-home show for WCW Sacrifice as we're live from the Arc Arena in Sacramento, California with a little over 17,000 people. And we start off with our pre-show match as in a decent pre-show match. Alex Wright and Chavo Guerrero defeated Sean Stasiak and Jamie Noble in 15-17 when Wright submitted Jamie Noble to an STF. Probably should have had Noble over, but not to get in the world. This gets a 69. Chavo gets a 74, Wright gets a 79, Noble gets a 74, Sean Stasiak gets a 57. But here's something very interesting. Alex Wright and Chavo Guerrero showed excellent chemistry teaming together. So, yeah. That's interesting, at least to give these guys something to do that they don't currently have. So, yeah. I mean, obviously, Eddy and Chavo are a team, but Eddy's currently the world champion, so he might be busy for the moment. So, yeah. That's very interesting that Alex and Chavo have a chemistry. That's something to think about for the future. Anyway, on to the actual show. So we start out with first Booker T comes down and basically saying, Seka, the clock is ticking on your tag title reign. On your world title reign. Why did I say tag title reign? Every day, every time you get in the ring, wrestle to win that world title, you're a little more beaten down, a little more broken. It hurts a little bit when you get out of the bed. But all that means is that oh, shit. How did I... Wait, why is Shane Helms here? I totally set Charmel... wow, okay. This is just one of those times where I screwed up. Ignore that Shane Helms is there. That should be Charmel, but obviously Shane Helms, Charmel, so let's just pretend he's not there. Anyway, I know it's like to hold the world title, Eddie. I know how hard it is, and how much harder it gets every single day. And that's why, after you've been world champion for 6 months, at Sacrifice, I'm going to take that belt off you and become a six-time world champion, and there's nothing you can do about it. Eddy comes out and says, Booker, Holmes, you think you're special. But I fought monsters before. I fought men backed up by stables before. Hell, I fought people who were politically connected before, and I have to come out on top. So if you think I'm scared of you or think I'm going to lose the world title just because I've been wrestling all over the world, all over this country, and yes, it's hard to do it every single day. But Grow Family Vows means I'm ready for this. I've been training for this since I was a teenager. So you think I'm going to let you go to the world title just because it's a little tough, essay? You're forgetting you're talking to a Guerrero. As they sort of like stand off between each other, then Jarrett comes down, whoa. You guys can, have your little slap fight here. But the important thing here is the chosen few, led by me, are going to dominate World Championship Wrestling sooner or later, slap nuts. But it's nice you guys are arguing like an old married couple. That's going to make it more impressive when I take care of that punk Kanyon and when I take the world title off of one of you. Ooh. Now the others is stare down. But, I'm glad Booker will probably take care of my late work. So I think it's going to have a true showdown of two of the best wrestlers in WCW that have been here through the dark times, are now here back in the light. Kanyon comes down. He says, nobody's better than Kanyon. And I remember that. But I've got respect for her now. So, you guys think you're the future? Or the present? How about tonight? Me and Eddy versus you two. As a little preview of Sacrifice. Everybody agrees, and the match is on. This gets a 99, because everybody's actually getting pretty damn over. And yeah, all these are really good at charisma, entertainment, and yeah, so there we go. Big tag match, set for the go-home show, as you sort of expect. Then we go forward. Air Paris is backstage, just with his TV title. And then he's interrupted by Shane Douglas, of all people. Paris is like, okay, what do you want? He's still the franchise here in WCW, even though he's been a little bit of a dark period. But one way to get back on track would be taking the TV title off a punk kid like you. So if you're ready, I'll take you on for the title right now and relieve you of that gold. Paris is like, fine, I'm ready. I'll defend against anybody, even you. You think you're special just because you've been a world champion before in the Barbarous City? Well, this is the world TV title, and I fought hard to get it, and I'll fight hard to keep it. Good promo. This gets a 69 as we move forward. Lots of backstage champions to start us off. But okay, now we have a very interesting singles women's tag match, which gets a 67, which is impressive. So in the belt had Subpar Wrestling and Little Heat. Jordan Cole and Celine Cartier defeated Nikita Colt and Gail Kim in 9:57 when Jordan Cole pinned Nikita Colt with a fast roll up. We'll just say it's a victory roll. But okay, so what happens here is first, because it didn't do any of the booking I asked it to, which is sometimes what TEW does. It's basically like, it's a back and forth tag match, simple, Colt and Cole, Colt looks like she's actually dominating Cole, but Cole fights back a little bit. Cartier's getting her moves in. When all of a sudden, April Foxx comes down, and Cartier, looks down at her like, what are you doing out here? So eventually, Cartier actually comes off the apron and starts arguing with Fox, telling her to go back to the back. And Angel's like, I'm just watching. I'm just having your guys' back. Cartier sort of pushes her, and Fox pushes her back. All while Cole is trying to get Cartier back in the ring. But then Cole comes around. Colt goes for a sort of wacky submission, but Cole gets out of it. Actually hits a victory roll, locks Colt into a pin position, and gets the 1, 2, 3 before Kim. No, actually, what happens is basically Kim tries to help her lock in submission, but Kim comes in, accidentally drops Colt with one of her strong kicks. That allows Cole to get the victory roll. 1, 2, 3. Huge win for Jordan Cole as she goes for the Women's World title at Sacrifice, as she pins the Women's World Champion. Like I said, this gets a 67, Cartier gets a 68, Jordan Cole gets a 56, Gail Kim gets a 65, and Nikita Colt gets a 66. Good stuff. And post-match, Gail Kim and Nikita Colt argue afterwards. Well, Jordan Cole celebrates her big win as the announcers put over the big Women's World title match at Sacrifice, as this gets a 66. Fun times. Then we go backstage, where Bischoff enters, the babyface locker room, and he puts over the fact, both RVD and Jeff Hardy have been very impressive the past couple months. So he wants them, even though they've been tag partners recently, from the face-off at Sacrifice in a #1 contenders match. Crowd pops for that, and both men are happy to agree, happy to compete against the other. But then Kidman comes in and says, actually, as a member of the Triumvirate who've been held down in WCW, he deserves a shot at the #1 contendership as well. Bischoff says, you were tag champion, which is very impressive, but what was the last big singles victory you had? Well, yeah, and Kim says, yes, I haven't checked it. What titles have these guys held? Hardy was U.S. champion for 6 days. RVD hasn't held anything in a while. I've been a tag team title, which means I've been an actual champion. Well, those guys have done nothing. Bischoff just sort of exasperated. Look, okay, fine. You want in the #1 contenders match? You have been impressive tag team champion. You've been impressive wrestler these past 2 years. However, you still have to earn your way. So defeat one of these guys tonight on Nitro, crowd pop, and you can get into the NOBA 3-way at Sacrifice. Kim was like, okay, fine. Who will I face and take down and prove is nothing but overrated and protected by men like you, Bischoff? Bischoff shrugs and says, well, who wants to fight him? And then Hardy and RVD play rock, paper, scissors. They tie twice before finally RVD wins. And, Hardy says, good luck. And then, Kidman says, says, fine. I'm perfectly happy to take out somebody like RVD tonight. This gets an 83, decent little backstage promo. And then we move forward as we have Flair backstage with the Hart Legacy. He says, it's true, I've had scraps with your uncle up north, but your 3 young kids have a hell of a future. So just go ahead and follow the Nature's Boy's path, and you'll be riding in Lear jets and limousines sooner than later. And, tonight, as long as you do well, I'll even buy the drinks, even for you, Natty. Woo! And Hart Legacy are sort of not there's, okay, Rick's crazy, basically our crazy old uncle who we have to deal with, but who's still very good in the ring, so we'll deal with him. As this gets a 71. And then we have our TV title match, which is very short because they didn't click at all, which I sort of forgot about that they actually faced off months ago. And I totally forgot they had bad chemistry until I actually booked the match. But I still went through it. As anybody had decent from the crowd, but Sabar Wrestling, Air Paris retains his TV title, defeating Shane Douglas in 5:36 by pinfall with a surprise cradle as he makes defense number 2 of his World TV title. This gets a 52, Air Paris gets a 53, Shane Douglas gets a 61. As I said, they didn't click at all. And so basically this is Shane Douglas just throwing Air Paris around for the first 4.5, 5 minutes. But Air Paris basically, Shane Douglas goes for the Pittsburgh plunge. Air Paris fights out of it, hits a quick springboard move, cradle, 1, 2, 3. Shane Douglas is shocked. But Air Paris gets a huge win and retains his TV title, as this gets a 63. Fun stuff. And continues sort of the underdog, TV champion gimmick we've got going for Air Paris recently. Then we go back, and then we cut to basically early tonight as the Deadpool of Macias and Morningstar show up, and basically they're like outside of the ring, and Bischoff shows up with like a phalanx of security officers and say, "Look, you guys signed for a big match, and I know you're going to try to ruin it. So go back to your graveyard or your coffins or whatever you guys do between matches, and be here for sacrifice, and you get your shot, but not before then." Morning Star says, "The message will succeed, no matter what pass you put in front of it." Bischoff is like, "Fine, it will, but the message will be seen at sacrifice, not beforehand." So this gets a 67 and basically rates them off for the night. Then we have another backstage promo as basically, Carter finds April Foxx backstage and basically says, "What was that?" Basically, things like "C'est importe quoi," which is French for "what was that bullshit," but we're not going to actually say that was what it went. Just, get it past the censors. And, basically, like, pushes Angel. Says Angel is like, "What? I was just making sure nobody else got involved. It's not your fault you got distracted." That seems like something a true Women's World Champion would avoid doing. And Celine Cartier is like, "Oh, this is what this is all about. Well, Angel, you are a great Women's World Champion. But so was I. But I don't have anything going on this Sunday. So if you want to fight, I'll go to Bischoff and we'll get it set up." Walker's like, "Fine, I'll be happy to prove myself as a woman. We'll actually take the world title off of Colt, since we both know your little friend ain't doing it." Cardi gets upset about, and they sort of face off, and there we go. And then it sounds a little later on, it will be, yes, we actually have a pay-per-view with two women's matches on it, as we got Celine Cartier versus Angel Foxx. This little backstage segment gets a 57, not bad. Then in a wacky 8-man match, we have in a decent match, Ric Flair, Natty Neidhart, and the Hart Legacy of Jack Evans and Teddy Hart defeat Shane Helms, Amber O'Neal, and Reno and Cash in 9:38. When Jack Evans pins Cash with a stunt 1-on-1, which is sort of wacky flip, this gets a 78, which is kind of awesome. As this is just a total, cluster right from the beginning. Natty and Amber fight, Hart Legacy do their flips, Flair and Helms brawl. Flair takes out Helms with a low blow, throws him to the outside. Eventually, Hart Legacy get the advantage on Cash, hit some sort of wacky double team. Then Jack Evans goes up top, hits his flippy doos, and gets the 1-2-3 over Cash. One half of the tag team champions. As like I said, this gets a 78. Amber O'Neal gets a 57. Reno gets a 66. Cash gets a 72. Shane Helms gets an 84. 99 Neidhart gets a 44. Jack Evans gets a 77. Teddy Hart gets a 68. And Ric Flair still gets an 83. And post-match, the WPP celebrate to a 71. So, fun times. So then after that, we go backstage where Eric Bischoff is, pacing backstage. He knocks on a locker room door, and the Roman Legion answer it. They welcome in, and Bischoff's like, "Why were you guys... Look, I'm busy, but I had to figure out, why are you guys ruining my tag match last week?" And Tori's like, "Look, I had the TV title, then I lost it, and I haven't got anything since then. I've been trying, and you got nothing for us. So we had to make our own opportunity, Bischoff. Isn't that what you want? Controversy, creating crash. What's more controversy than ruining a tag match and getting two teams pissed at us who are higher up on the ladder, when we can take them both out and rise up that ladder? That's what Roman and Swing will do, because they're part of a new Roman Legion who will dominate WCW. So we have to talk some chaos, so be it." Bischoff's like, "Fine, you want some chaos? Make some chaos on the pay-per-view versus AMW and Gent London. I'm sure they'll both want to take a piece out of you two," as he points to Romeo and Swinger. "Good luck." And he walks away, and the Roman Legion seem happy about this, as this gets a 68. Then we go backstage where O'Hare and Palumbo are basically getting ready. They put over the fact, they would have been happy to fight Mrs. Morningstar, in the bowels of the arena tonight. But, I guess Bischoff wanted to save that for the pay-per-view. And then there's a knock on the door. And when they open it, there's two black wreaths, one with O'Hare, one with Palumbo on it. And this seems to be a message from Morningstar, at least. I don't know if Mrs. has thoughts, but maybe he was the one phone in the order. Who knows? Regardless, there's some black wreaths for O'Hare and Palumbo sort of looks at O'Hare, and they both sort of kick them down, and they both say something effective, "If you think this is going to scare us away, we'll see you at Sacrifice, and we show you just how scared we are, Morningstar." As this gets an 83, decent stuff. Not our best, but They rolled badly, but what can you do? Then in a bout that had superb wrestling and great heat and gets a freaking 90, Billy Kidman defeats RVD in 1347 with a Kid Crusher. It says after April Hunter interfered, but what happens here is basically RVD hits the Van Dam because he always does. Goes for the pinfall, but April actually puts Kidman's foot on the ropes. So, ref counts at 2, stops that. RVD is upset about that. That allows April then to slide the chair in the perfect spot. Kid drills him from behind, hits Kid Crusher on the chair, 1, 2, 3, gets the pinfall victory, and is added to the three-way to the match at Sacrifice, which will now be a three-way number one contendership match. As this gets a 90, like I said, Kidman gets a 91. Kidman gets an 83, RVD gets a 91. Good stuff. And yeah, that gets another, I think, our final match set up for Sacrifice. Kidman, Rob Van Dam, and Jeff Hardy for the number one contendership match. And post-match, of course, Kidman celebrates, and then Jeff Hardy comes down and has a face-off with them as the crowd pops, and Matt gets a 71. And then we have a quick segment where Air Raid are backstage. Air Paris and AJ Styles commiserate. AJ says, good job on undefeating Douglas. We had our problems with him before, but now, all our old business is done. We're still friends. We're still a strong tag team, but we're both on our own. Paris says, he's sure that Noble, they tell him no problem with Noble at Sacrifice, and looks like everything is hunky and dory between them. Then we go backstage, and, well, not backstage, but to the back, where Awesome Goldberg's in the parking lot, and Awesome confronts him, and it looks like they're about to, they basically, throw each other against, the two cars. So first, Awesome says, I could take you out right now, but I don't want to take you out like this in a parking lot. I want to take you out in the ring and prove that the myth of Goldberg was always that, just a big myth. I could have taken you out at any time and ended the streak, but I was busy in the barbed wire city. Goldberg forces Awesome back, says, you can talk all you want, but after Sacrifice, all you know is you are next. And this gets a 74, and then it's time for our big main event. The match gets a freaking 95. Woohoo, good stuff. An exceptional match, yes it was. I agree, it was exceptional. Kanyon and Eddie Guerrero defeats Booker T and Jeff Jarrett in 1812 when Eddie Guerrero pins Jeff Jarrett with frog splash. So, back and forth, your typical very good high-end US Pro style tag match. Kanyon and Eddie team up. They probably hit something like a double superplex on Jarrett. Jarrett fights back with cheating. Booker does his brawling and hits an axe kick on Kanyon, but Kanyon fights out of the bookend. Kanyon goes for the Kanyon cutter. Booker pushes him off, but Eddie then wipes out Booker with a big springboard drop kick or springboard shoulder block. Eddie hits the three amigos, goes up top, hits the frog splash on Booker, but Jarrett makes a save. Big brawl to end things. But in the end, Kanyon hits the Kanyon cutter on Jarrett. Eddie hits the frog splash on him. 1, 2, 3. 95 overall. Jarrett gets an 87. Booker gets an 88. Eddie gets a 90. Kanyon gets a 92. And post-match, which gets a 96. You have a big old finish as the announcers really put over, these two huge matches along with everything else, a Sacrifice. As after the win, Booker tries to take out Eddie, but Booker, tosses him, but Eddie tosses him out of the ring, and they have a standoff. Well, the rest of the chosen few, Mark Jindrak and Rick Gordy, come down to go after Jarrett, to go after Kanyon, but Kanyon fights them off, and eventually Eddie also helps fight off the chosen few. As there's a big standoff to end the show, as the announcers really put over, Eddie versus Booker for the world title, Jarrett versus Kanyon, and the big 3 number one contenders match, and much, much more. As the show itself, this gets a 96, and the show itself gets a 94. Okay, really good stuff. That's probably our strongest show we've had, our strongest series of shows we've had in a little while. And that's, again, hopefully, obviously, this pay-per-view might have some changes, but hopefully this is helping Eddie actually get over. This and the sort of, changing his body size, which is something, unfortunately, we have to do, because otherwise, he'll be stuck at 85 forever. But regardless, let's look at, let's see here. Okay, interesting. ROH won a small bout over WWE after the latter staff had spent hours making hundreds of anti-ROH signs. Arch get the last laugh, and most people simply refuse to hold them up. Oh, that's too bad for WWE. That's interesting. Let's see here. I do not care about Don Harris getting an offer. Let's hear. Raw. Raw did an 87, so not bad. As we had Billy Gunn defeating Cody Hawk in a 79, Big Show winning a squash, William Regal defeating Raven in a cage match in an 87, DDP defeating Bradshaw in an 84, Kevin Nash, Chris Jericho, and Brock Lesnar defeating Randy Orton, Wild and Wicked in a 90, Kurt Angle defeating Val Venus in a 99, and the main event of Triple H and Chris Benoit defeating Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker in a 99 as well. So that's interesting. To go over... So again, to go over our show history, we had our Saturday night taping. So first we had a Saturday night taping, which I did as a sort of a testing ground. So basically, Miss Jones announced a women's focus show tonight, which got a 48. Then we had Natty Neidhart and Becky Bayless defeating Amber O'Neil and Bonnie Maxon in a 48, up from Developmental. We had the Natty and Amber continuing to fight in a 48 to push their little feud. We had Gail Kim defeating Emi Sakura in a 57. We had Angel Fox and Beth Phoenix teaming up to defeat Nikki Roxx and Annie Social in a 53. And the main event, Jordan Cole and Celine Cartier defeated Nikita Colt and Machine Music in a 62. So this got a 63, which is just as good as any of our other Saturday nights. And on the next Saturday night, we had Miss Jones and the Cats are seemingly they made their mistakes, but they're, getting along again. And then we had Chavo Guerrero defeating Evan Courageous in a 48. We had Sacrifice Control Center, which was an 86. We had Becky Bayless, Beth Phoenix, and Natty Neidhart defeating Annie Social, Nikki Roxx, and Bonnie Maxon in a 45, which is not bad considering these are all deaf girls aside from Natty, and even Natty and Beth are still on the dev fed. We had Ebony Sable winning a squash over Adam Ortiz in a 14. And Miss Jones said she had an opponent for Miller, and it was Kaz. So that got a 58. And then Kaz defeated Ernest Miller in 62. And then Kaz kept a hold on, and Miss Jones seemingly felt guilty about it. So that's our Saturday night tapings. And yes, Ernest Miller continues to get a quasi push because a couple people seemingly like him. Which, who you like. Then, just to go over some other stuff, we had first AWQ. Had their weekly show, which was had Cheerleader Melissa and Tracy Brooks defeating Madison Clare and Sydney Rogers in a 47. Had Bonnie Maxon defeating Ariel in a 49. He had Roni Jonah, Lacey Music, and Miss Molly defeating Beth Phoenix and the Pink Girls, which is Natty Neidhart and Becky Bayless, in a 51. We had Kim Nielsen defeating Allison Danger in a non-title match in a 55. And the social scene of Annie Social and Nikki Roxx defeating Lacey Emily Osaka in a 50. So 49 overall, which is actually worse than most of their shows, but they should have put the Nielsen Danger match as the main event. So what can you do? I mean, book better, but yes. Let's see here. NWA, Wildside. Okay, so Wildside had actually 3 big shows. So first, for the weekly house show, Chance Prophet defeating Claudio Castagnoli, so yes, Claudio loses again. Cole Brothers defeating Sonny Siaki and Travis Tomko in a 45. Adam Ortiz, our Regen, defeated Tony Jones. Johnny Devine defeating JC Daz. Chris Anna defeated Rick Michaels. Jimmy Graves defeated Kai Graves. Remember, Kai Graves is a Regen. Lazarus, Chris Rambola, and John Phoenix defeating Tank Cullen and Egocentric, which I believe is, Tony Cuzina and Ice Train. Adam Jones defeated Keith Walker by DQ. And then Jason Cross defeated Ray Lapan, which is the feature Adam Rose, and one of our dev guys, Shane Ballard and Onyx, in a 73. Then we had a TV show where Ray Lapan defeating Claudio. So yes, Claudio loses again. Jason Cross and Hero defeat TNT. Not that Hero, a random Japanese guy, Hiroshima. And then, And then in their big show, Wildside In and Out, which was weirdly in the Mid-South for some reason, we had JC Daz and Claudio actually had a win over Rain Man and Dagon Briggs. Ken Anderson and Tony Jones defeated Rick Michaels and Adam Ortiz in a 46. Johnny Devine defeated Marcus Militek in a 52. Tank Tolan defeated Chris Rambola in a 54. Kai Graves and the Ballards defeated Wrathchild and Egocentric in a 53. Keith Walker defeated Jimmy Rave in a 54. Adam Jacobs defeated Onyx, and Jason Cross defeated the future Adam Rose in a 67. So, fun times. And then, for other big match shows that happened, All Japan had one of their big shows live from the Saitama Super Arena in front of 34,000 people, which is interesting considering the roster. So, of matches people would care about, let's see here. Takeo Mori and Masayu Fuji defeated the Violent Playboys of Hirai and Araya. Kurt Hennig defeated Mike Barton in a 51. Kimino and Okamura defeated Oya and Ishii, so yes, that Ishii, in a 49 for the All Asia Tag Titles. Hayabusa defeating Yoji Anjo. That would be a Styles Clash. It's a FMW Wild Flying Guy versus a Shoot Guy in a 70. Too Cold Scorpio defeated Nunzio That's why Nunzio is not part of the Roman Legion, because he's in All Japan, getting 67. And Hiroshi Hase, who I think is, how old is he? Yeah, he is 42, so not as old as I thought he was, defeated Kea to retain the Triple Crown title and is 73. So 71 overall for that, and then I think Noah had a big show, right? Where are you? Yes, Noah had their big show, which didn't even include a defense of their title, which is interesting. But okay, matches people would care about. Mr. Ganasuki defeated Steve Blackman in a 71. Marufuji and Akira Sato defeated Tomoe Honka in a Hashi in a 70. We had Kikuchi defeating Leatherface in a 65. We had Ricky Marvin defeated Aikida, which would have been a fun match, in a 81. Kenta defeated Kanemaru in a 78 to retain the Junior Heavyweight Title Championship. Jun Akiyama defeated Taru, of all people, in a 85 in the best match of the night. And in the main event, Kento Kobashi dragged Tateo Yasuda to an 84. So, wait, where is... Okay, yeah, why didn't Masawa... I mean, that's interesting that Masawa did not defend the title. Interesting. Anyway, I think that was it for the big shows. I'm just trying to remember here. Was there anything else of note? Chono turned heel in New Japan, but that's all you guys really need to know about that. Oh, one other thing. So, sometimes the AI does wacky things. So, I think I've mentioned this before, but officially, WWE has not had SmackDown on the air for about a year because they basically put it on ABC and they weren't getting consistent like 90s, so they lost it. So, but the thing is, they got SmackDown. I've been acting, it's been on TV just on like sort of like basically the version of my network TV. But the thing is, they got coverage back, but where they got coverage back is very interesting. They got SmackDown on TBS. Yes, TBS, where, again, wait for it. We currently have Nitro. So yes, both Nitro and SmackDown are on the same network. So this would never happen in real life. So I'm just going to pretend SmackDown's on USA, because otherwise I would just have, like, yeah, it would make no sense to me otherwise. Or it's on Spike, whatever. Like, yeah, in-game it's on TBS, but in the reality I'm going to pretend it's not, because that makes no sense. But yeah, very, very, very wacky. But yeah, just as a quick check though, storylines. So our world title signs at 95, which is I think one of our hottest storylines ever. Cashing in at a 78, Cruiserweight Funds at an 82. The Deadpool feuds at a 91 as well. Horseman feuds at a 95. Johnny Toro's return at a 66. Tag Wars is at a 77. Helms Flair's at a 76. Goldberg, Kidman, Hardy versus the Triumvirate is at a 79. Walking the Pass, Ray Jr., Keenan Sharp's at a 75, and the women's title feuds at a 64. So fun times, and yeah, to go over our final lineup for the pay-per-view. In the main event, Booker T defends the world title, goes for the world title against Eddie Guerrero. We've got in a huge match, the Horseman continues to fall apart as Jeff Jarrett takes on Kanyon. In a battle of light versus dark, the team of Palumbo and O'Hare takes on Macias and Morningstar. Rey Mysterio Jr. defends the U.S. Title Championship against Keenan Sharp once again. The tag titles are on the line as Silver City Rollers defend against Hart Legacy. Ric Flair tries to defend his legacy against Shane Helms. Jordan Cole tries to take the Women's World Championship off of Nikita Colt. AJ Styles defends the Cruiserweight Championship against Jamie Noble. In a big blow-off their feud, Celine Cartier takes on April Foxx. For the number one contendership, Billy Kidman takes on RVD and Jeff Hardy in a triple threat match. And the war continues as Goldberg takes on Awesome. So, a shockingly big show, like bigger show than I thought it would be. But I think things have been booked fairly well. Everything's been put together. Again, we've got a two-loaded roster, and unlike with a lot of people, like, this is a loaded roster I've mostly created on my own. Like, everybody's over. Like, I've only had a couple big, like, Eddy and Jeff Hardy is really my only big signing, and Jeff wasn't even that over when I signed him, so that I don't feel bad at that about. But yeah, there are some changes we're going to have to make long-term so that people just aren't randomly off the show for weeks. But, that's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, go and give it a like. Comment below, on what you're liking and not liking. And subscribe to the channel for lots of TEW 2020 content, including this series. my WWE 2013 series, where I've used a random number generator to give myself some goals, including really pushing Darren Young and making Cody Rhodes a world champion by the next WrestleMania. My WCW 1994 series, where we've exited Spring Stampede as heading towards Slamboree. And my MLW 2006 series, where MW Fusion is now in Univision and trying to expand to a nationwide company. But that's it for now. So talk to you later, and adios. Have a good one.